Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the rogues behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook.com/WeAreRogueMatter, YouTube.com/RogueMatter, Twitter.com/Rogue_Matter, and Twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter. We then take this finally videoed broadcast and turn it into the greatest podcast known to man, the Rogue Wave podcast, available on all major platforms, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we are there. We are the Rogue Wave podcast. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my spoiler-free co-host, the Lord of the Radio himself, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
What's up?
So I inadvertently spoiled Miss Marvel for you. I feel terrible now. See?
You don't feel terrible.
No, I do. I didn't want to spoil it for you. I don't ever want to spoil it for you. I'm surprised you haven't seen the whole thing, though. That was actually shocking to me.
I was busy. There's a lot of stuff going on.
What you got going on? What's going on?
A lot of stuff going on.
All right, well, we'll dive into that when we go all around the road.
Some of it. I don't know about all of it. But
we'll dive into all of that when we go all around the road next segment. We've got a great interview that we did on Monday night with Mr. Daniel Leister, a longtime friend and collaborator from way back. He was my artist on The Sire, which is what a lot of folks know me for. And he has a new comic coming out, so good stuff there. But first, Rogue Matter presents, we're giving you the inside scoop on everything that's happened on RogueMatter.com. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but everything on Rogue Matter is free to read. So you literally just go to Rogue Matter and you click on it and you read it.
I think you
all
said
of our podcasts
something once or twice about it. I don't know. I don't know if you say it enough, but I think you said something maybe 2, 3, 4.
I tried, right?
Times about it. Yeah.
I try. We have free podcasts. We have everything that you can, like everything is free to consume. I don't know how they're paying for it. My check's clear, so I'm cool with it. But at some point, this house of cards has got to implode because this is just free. It's just free everywhere. So, but get it while you can. That's what I got for you. Get it while you can, because I just don't know how long they can continue doing this, just creating awesome content and giving it for free. Badass Babes from Entertainment. The latest episode is now up as well too. These are two ladies doing amazing things. Joelle Anouk-Wubiri, which I think I actually did that correctly. And they're not on to tell me I didn't. That's the latest episode. Brenda Fisher runs an amazing talent agency out in California. She interviews celebrities, up-and-comers, people in the biz. She's got the inside track, so definitely check out Badass Babes of Entertainment. You can go to RogueMatter.com for that. Go just check out our podcast page, our Spreakers page, and we got all that stuff up there. We also have Until I Die, which I am extremely upset with this book. I am very angry at its creator, Jason Sturr. I am, immensely just fuming at the entire creative team, including Steve Rude, who did the covers, because this book is way better than anything I've ever done, and it angers me with how wonderfully crafted this book is and how carefully crafted this book is, and it makes me cry, and I sit in my closet in embarrassment and shame to have ever tried to create a comic book after reading this.
Did you film that for me, though? When you're sitting in your closet crying?
I should.
Yeah.
It's mostly just a lot of like, you're no good.
But it would be something I would just like watch quite frequently just to be self-amused. If you just could do that for me, that'd be...
I think it's going to be a reel soon on Instagram.
It's going to be a reel. It's an ongoing reel. Don't be upset, man. Just step your game up, man. Just be as good as them.
Yes.
That's what you got to do, man. That's a lesson you learn from stuff like that.
Yes. No, and you know what? It's funny because I am by nature a competitive person. So I'm definitely somebody that when he does reads things like this or read books like this or stories like this, it does actually get the fire going, which is good. I don't know if it's going to amount to anything, but it gets the fire going.
It always amounts to something, man. Be positive.
Yes.
It's always something. And always that something is good.
I think so. Except for the crying in the closet.
Creativity is good. across the board, unless you're being creatively murderous, in which case that's not good. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
but if you do it in a creative way, I mean, you still got to kind of give him a little bit of credit. Be like,
I've learned from
that guy
reading.
That guy's a psychopath, but man,
No.
didn't think,
I've learned from my readings, of course, that the cops don't care about how creatively murderous you are.
Very true.
They just care about the end result, which was murder. Don't do that. But be creative as much as humanly possible, and be inspired as much as humanly possible, because all those results are usually good.
Fictional murder is okay. I agree.
Fictional murder is fantastic. In fact, fill all your stories with fictional murders. The kids love it. The kids love it.
We've gotten this show off onto a very weird track today, and it's not just you. I mean, it's me crying in the closet. This is Until I Die. It follows the story of Dan Robbo, who looks suspiciously like a very, very famous singer from the 1950s as part of an elite group of entertainers who are also CIA agents. And episode 2 or issue 2, I enjoyed issue 1 because I think issue 1s are really hard, right? I think issue 1s are one of those things where it's like, man, that is so tough to get things rolling. And I think Jason did an amazing job in issue 1 of getting things set up. But issue 2 is where it really starts finding itself, and you start not the book finding itself, you understanding what this particular arc is going to be about. When Marilyn Monroe makes an appearance. The irony here is we didn't have to change Marilyn Monroe's name. We used her. We used her point blank.
Well, that's not her real name anyway, so
there you go.
So I guess it became redundant to give her another alias. So
Marilyn Monroe and JFK enter the picture here, and it paints a not so cozy view of or rosy view of the former ex-president, and paints a very rosy picture of Marilyn. Wonderfully done. And I got to tell you,
how can you paint a bad picture of Marilyn? I mean, no matter what you do.
Unless she was creating fictional murder, committing fictional murder.
No. Then... Everything looks good on Marilyn. That's the other rule.
Okay, that's fair.
Marilyn can fictionally murder with impunity, and there's no tarnish on her.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Then I can second that. I think that's a solid.
Please do.
That's a solid statement. I want to give a shout out to Yosim Cardenas, who is the artist on this as well too. He reminds me a lot of. Did you ever read the book Chew at Image?
I did not.
It's got that kind of. It's cartoony, but at the same time, it's not. Sometimes people do cartoony because they can't actually draw. They can't draw like the way the anatomy is supposed to work and facial expressions. Yosim, though, he can draw, man. Like he can legit draw, and his a lot of this book will make a great movie one day or make a great TV show one day. But what he's able to do is take these quiet scenes, which I think is the hardest thing a comic book artist has to do, and the expressions, the gestures, the poses. I think it just works. And then his action sequences, everything is full of life, everything is full of energy, and I think he's underrated in this. He is the unsung hero of this project.
Awesome. Who did the cover? Did he do the
Steve
cover?
Rude. Okay. No, Steve Rude.
The covers, it just takes you someplace immediately. Like it's immediately. Like I know it's stylized and it's meant to be evocative of the era, just like the graphic design of the verbiage on the logo and everything. But there's trying to imitate that, and there's pulling off imitating that. And I think this cover imitates it, pulls it off like beautifully. It's very compelling. So just to say, I mean, you cannot judge books by their cover, but that's all we do these days is judge books by their cover, and the cover is a winner. Cover's a winner. And you know what? I know the art style is a little bit different, but it's actually not. Like Steve Rude the art style inside is fantastic. I just I know you're not. What's interesting about it though is so Steve Rude has a cartoony kind of look. This happens to be like a fully painted cover though. And so it looks, it's very contrasty, but it actually reminds me of Fables. Fables had all those dope covers, like those dope painted covers. Yes. And then inside Mark Buckingham
awesome artist, but obviously the styles are different. That's what this reminds me of, because it's somehow both contrasting styles, they work. Like, they just work. Like, I remember, getting an issue of Fables and being like, wow, look at this cover. And then going on the inside and being like, this is very pleasant on the eye. This is really good storytelling. This is very, like, it just somehow it just
having
always
an Adam
works.
Hughes cover, but a John Romita Jr. interior, and they're they're both amazing artists, but there's completely different. They're drastically different feels to the artistry inside. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, but it's a good package when that happens. You know?
Yeah. And I just got word as well too. We're gonna have a follow up to Until I Die. It just got greenlit, so we'll have a backup. We're also gonna have a podcast for it. That's coming later in September. It's not a talkback podcast though, like we've done with Seal of Fire and with Kingdom of Tundo. It's going to be further adventures told by Jason Stair. So he's gonna host his own show and narrate some never before seen adventures via podcast, which I think is gonna be pretty cool. Go check out roguematter.com. Join the movement. Go Rogue. When we come back, we're going to brand new segment. I'm always just tweaking and tweaking. This segment is called All Around the Rogue. We are just going to chat about all the cool stuff happening, including San Diego ComicCon, which is happening tonight. And I'll be there tomorrow. Very exciting. So we're going to preview that when we come back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the rogues who create it. San Diego ComicCon is back, and it will be the lead story in this new segment. Aaron, do we have the graphic that I love so much? Which I actually don't love it as much with the words on top of it. I just love this little image. Oh no, that's the San Diego Comic. No, All Around the Rogue. There. Look at that little tiny globe. I was telling everyone off air that so to our listening audience, if you're listening to us on the podcast, it is just a tiny styrofoam globe, and I just think it's the funniest little thing, because we're going around the world, but it's all around the Rogue, and it's a little Rogue thing. I said no one else would find this funny but me.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It tickled my funny bone.
Okay. All right.
I don't know why. There's something about it. It's like, put the graphic up again. Put it up again. I want to see it again.
I like Aaron's comment.
Look at that little globe. Look, there it is. It's all around the globe, all around the Rogue. All right, we are going to span the Rogue world and talk about all the cool topics. And that is the first one right off the bat is San Diego ComicCon 2022. Hollywood Reporter came out today with a guide to the biggest panels. I'm going to take you back to 2019 a second. 2019 didn't have Marvel. It had a lot of these companies putting on their own cons at this point. You had D23, which was a big, which was basically Disney's answer to Comic-Con, but it was only Disney-related stuff and Marvel-related stuff. They put on a huge event. You had DC Fandom kind of emerge when it was virtual because of COVID. And there was a definite buzz in the air in 2019. I was there, where it's like, are these studios going to continually send their talent, and how big of a deal is it to go to San Diego? And it was a palpable, feeling in the air of like, you know what? Add to that just the number of Comic-Cons that were created in the past like 5 years. Wizard World, before they went defunct, they'd have a Comic-Con every day practically. It felt like Fan Expo was getting into the game as well too. So it was an oversaturation of the con market. We used to call it the con bubble. When's the con bubble going to burst? And 2019 definitely, there was an air of that, where I don't think San Diego's going to be what San Diego used to be. Fast forward to 3 years later, post-COVID, or at least post-lockdown of COVID, it's back. And Marvel and DC will be big there. Amazon Prime, they're there. HBO, Paramount, Apple TV, Netflix. All the heavyweights. Marvel is going to be dropping the Black Panther trailer. That, I think, to me, if I had to pick one and predict, what's going to be the most talked about, thing that is premiering there, I feel like that's got to be it, right?
Well, that's got to be it amongst all the things we've heard are supposed to be out, but you don't know what they're going to do that's going to be completely off the pale,
Yeah.
So
I mean, unless they have a Chadwick Boseman hologram, I don't know. We can only go by what
macabre, dude. But I mean, I'm saying something. Maybe something has nothing to do with Black Panther. That they're going to release. They're going to announce that Henry Cavill's coming back from Man of Steel 2, or some crazy stuff. You have no idea what they're planning to announce. And this is, as you say, just to piggyback on what you were talking about. This is the first time they're doing this in 3 years, almost in 2 years, in 2 solid years. So it's going to be red letter, man. Like everybody's going to be dialed to 11 to attend and find out what's going on. So I'm sure there's a lot of unforeseen surprises that are going to spring up.
Yeah,
that's going to come out of there.
Marvel Studios MCU has a number of big titles, including Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and the panel will almost certainly include teases about the MCU's future. So that's going to be pretty cool, obviously. Like you said,
which everyone is saying is in doubt anyway. So it'll be wonderful to see if this changes the narrative at all.
That's the funny thing about these Comic-Cons too, right? If you pull it off, great. That's the one good thing. You get goodwill and in buzz and anticipation for a number of months. Now, it doesn't always translate into ticket sales.
Nothing translates into anything anymore. It's just that you got the buzz, right?
Correct.
If you get great buzz, doesn't mean by December you're still going to have buzz, and there's not going to be a reason for everybody to doubt everything that you said in August. But
next week we're going to do a Who Won the Weekend, which we've done before with this. So we're gonna pick a winner for the weekend, and that's all it is. They win a little trophy that we don't have. It'll be that little globe.
Yeah, you can give it the styrofoam globe. Paint it. You have to paint it gold.
Yes, I'll paint the little globe. Yeah, the little globe gold. Yes. I will not say that 5 times fast because that just won't work.
Little gold gold.
Prime Video is going to have Lord of the Rings there, the Rings of Power. So that's going to be pretty cool. You're going to have the showrunners for the show, talking about that. And what's cool about Amazon, they generally do really cool setups outside the convention center. I remember when they were promoting Jack Ryan, and it was like a helicopter crashed. Like they set up a helicopter like crashing in the middle of it didn't actually crash.
I know. Yeah. But
you walk, they rent it out,
nice.
And it was pretty sick, man. Like it was a sick,
So take pictures, man.
Oh, I will. I will.
We want copious. Aaron and I want copious pictures when you return from your excursion.
I'm not a picture guy though.
No, you gotta take pictures though. You gotta become a picture guy, man.
I know. It's funny too, because part of me, when I look back on college photos that other people have taken, and I'm like, I'm so glad you guys took these pictures. And I'm like, damn, I almost wish I took more pictures because it'd be kind of cool. But then at the same time, I'm like, I have no interest in taking pictures. I hate.
You have a phone that can take pictures. Take pictures.
No, I do. I know. I go boop 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 boop, and I'm done, and I go back and.
No, don't be done. You have to acclimate yourself. This is the new world, man. This is the first Comic-Con in 2 years, and you're in attendance. You're the man on the ground. You're the one.
Well, I was at New York Comic-Con. That just wasn't the same though. This is the first. I think this is definitely the welcome back. This is
San Diego Comic-Con in 2 years. All right, so you're the guy. You're the man on the scene.
Yes.
Right. You're the eyes on. You've got to.
I'll post them to my Patreon account, and you have to pay me $1 to see them. Then I'll do it. Yeah. I want to capitalize on it, baby. Capitalize.
Never mind.
Warner Brothers never one to let MCU get all the glory. DC will bring its own thunder, with Dwayne Johnson offering a look at his anti-hero flick Black Adam, and a Shazam sequel, Fury of the Gods, starring Zachary Levi, Helen Mirren, and Lucy Liu. Decidedly missing is The Flash, fronted by the embattled Ezra Miller. Warner says it is not yet touting 2023 films, though in years past it has shown footage of projects as far as 16 months away from release. So
can't blame them though.
No, they are in such a. I mean, what in this day and age where you where people do not separate the art from the artists anymore. You know, like the audience, or at least the audience online anyway, does not tolerate your off the camera antics, right? They you know, you can be.
Well, if they're vile, if you're accused of vile stuff.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He's in another stratosphere.
Yeah.
I'm building up to that. I'm building up to that. My point, what I was about to tell you was that in this day and age where they don't separate the art and the art from the artist, you know, you can just like, you know, be like quote unquote insensitive, or you could be, you know, you could say something that's, you know, misrepresented or misquoted. Or you could even just attend a place you shouldn't attend, and people will be like, "Oh, you're such a jerk! Didn't you know that was, you know, that's where such and such happened?" And then you have to start apologizing. Ezra Miller is legitimately like in another stratosphere when it comes to any of this stuff. I mean, like, you know, I almost, you almost wonder how they could even release the film. Now, luckily, the film's not supposed to come out till 2023. I think it was supposed to come out, what, March?
I don't know, but I'm sure it's sooner than when they're planning to pull it out. Unfortunately for them, if they had been able to release it, you know, when originally planned, when they delayed it because of COVID,
sure,
they'd be past this controversy. They'd have made the money off of it and be past this controversy by now. And then, you know, the controversy would come up, and they'd be like, "Well, we're not making Flash 2. Oh well, but we made $1 billion off of Flash, so you know we win." But you know, no.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a Tom Cruise situation for them this time out.
No, it's really not. And the funny part about it is, out of all the DC films, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most, because it has Michael Keaton coming back.
Yep.
And Ben Affleck coming back. So
it's too bad for Michael Keaton. You know, like, oh man,
well,
I was just about to get right back in the arena, and this is how I come
he
back
had
in.
Spider-Man. I feel like he's above that.
I mean,
a little
as
bit.
Batman, he wants to get back in the arena. He can be the Vulture in Spider-Man in the MCU and Batman in the DCEU.
I know,
right? Or whatever they call that now. And that's, you know, that's a ticket to print money.
Yeah.
But now, no.
HBO is going to be there. Game of Thrones at Hall H with the prequel House of the Dragon. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Paramount, 3 years ago, Tom Cruise surprised Comic-Con with the first trailer for the now $1 billion grossing Top Gun Maverick. This year, the studio brings Dungeons and Dragons. So that's starring Chris Pine. I didn't know there was a Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah.
It cannot be worse than the last 2 Dungeons and Dragons movies that they actually did.
Okay.
So, one of them, which with Jeremy Irons, it's one of those directive video, not really directive video, but they're pre Lord of the Rings. We should take epics seriously mentality.
Okay,
so
well then you can forgive them a little bit for that then, right?
You can't. They're really not good.
So,
I hope it's indicative of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, which is still a cult favorite, from the 80s. But we'll never know.
This one's an interesting one. Apple TV is going to be there. The streamer takes its first trip to the con with a full lineup of panels. The most notable being the Emmy-nominated Severance, with Ben Stiller and castmates Adam Scott, Britt Lauer, and more participating. What's that old saying? The one thing that doesn't belong. I kind of feel like Apple's kind of like, yeah, we're here. What's this Comic-Con thing all about? We've got these really serious actors in this great, critically acclaimed show, and you guys are dressed up like Spider-Man. It's like, I don't know. Like,
well, they've also had like Westworld there, and that's pretty much a heavy drama. That's not a comic.
Very sci-fi though. Like Severance isn't sci-fi. Severance has nothing supernatural to it in any way, shape, or form, as far as I understand.
Don't go to that panel then. We don't expect pictures.
Ironically, that's the one I'm going to go to, because I feel like that's the one I'll be able to get in. Be like, that's, which one can you get in? The one that no one knows anything about, nor has anything to do with anything anybody is there to see.
Gotcha. All right. Never mind.
Netflix.
Good luck with that.
The pricey Sandman series will conjure up stars and produce. I'm not a line guy. Hang on. I'm not a line guy. I will not wait in Hall H lines. Like, I just won't.
Would you take a picture of the Hall H line for the crowd?
Ooh. So you've never done San Diego, huh?
No.
Oh, bucket list, baby. You got to do it at least once. You don't even have to go to the show. You just have to come walk around.
I don't like conventions.
What's that?
I don't like conventions, and San Diego's the mother of all conventions. So that's like, it's the anti-Hassan convention.
this. I don't know. I think this is the one you definitely have to do. Just as bucket list, just to go kind of see it and then kind of like leave. There is.
Well, I understand what you mean by that, but very hopefully, I am nowhere near trying to fulfill my bucket list. So
it's not a question of you fulfilling your bucket list before your time runs out. It's fulfill your bucket list now while there's still a San Diego Comic-Con to have.
Also, no disrespect intended, but you can't put items on my bucket list. You really can't.
I can make carefully
you can
careful recommendations.
Yes, and I will take it under heavy advisement.
Consideration.
Yes, yeah. But you can't no, put this item on your bucket list.
You're a contracted member of the show, and in that contract it says you're not even a contracted member.
Please, there are a number of amenities on the contract list that must be added to my bucket list before I sign. I understand. I didn't read the fine print again.
That's the problem.
My
Gotta read the fine print.
Understood.
Yeah. So anyway, there is a Hall H. It's not even just a line for Hall H. People camp out overnight.
Well, I know the tenacity of fans. So I mean, like the only thing I don't know about San Diego, I've been told about it, but I don't know it because I haven't experienced it firsthand. Is the size is astronomical, and so everything is bigger and better.
Yes.
So if I know the fans of conventions, because we have extensive experience with conventions prior to the now times, everything is probably dialed up to 11. So if San Diego is a convention that's dialed up to 11, San Diego fans or show fans also have to be equally dialed up all the way to the max. So, I only say take pictures. I don't say participate.
Well, friend of the show,
like, walk by, do a drive-by, snap a shot so we understand the scale and the scope, and then get out of there.
You ready for this though? Friend of the show, Victor Dandridge, and I gotta actually kind of applaud him on this. In 2019, I think it was 2019. Yeah, I think it was because I was in that Spartan room. I say that because I ended up staying in a hotel that was basically like, I feel like it's where Eliza Dushku stayed when she was playing Faith in Buffy, where Buffy walks in the room and is just like, huh, nice place. And she's like, yeah, Spartan. It's a very Spartan room, meaning it was pretty terrible. He went to San Diego without booking a hotel. And his plan was to sleep on the Hall H line so that both he could see the, Hall H. He would be in Hall H for the Marvel announcement. So maybe it was 2018 then. And he did this. In fact, yeah, I guess it was. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You hear about those stories and you realize that there are people out there with a level of dedication that you will never achieve. That you just will not. It's mythical level of dedication.
Yeah, but he killed two birds with one stone. He's like, A, it's a free place to stay, and everything out there is super expensive. And B, I'll get to see all the cool stuff in Hall H. It's like that's a win-win. I actually had him. I was like, dude, I have a room. Just come. And one of the nights he crashed in my room because I was like, dude,
he couldn't take it. He had to take a break. That's a plan.
Funny thing about
that is a plan that I would come up with. I would come up with a plan. But there's a big deal. There's a big difference between coming up with a plan like that and executing a plan like that. Because one night on the Hall H line, and I'd be like, Mike, what do you got for me?
Well,
I gotta get
funny
out
enough,
of here.
though, I told him he could stay in my room, and the first thing he said is, "Are we gonna watch this?" I was watching TV. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say that, but it'd be funny if he did. Because I said that to you on a Wizard World Chicago trip where I busted.
No, that story's coming up.
Yeah,
that story's coming up in the Dan Leister interview. So yeah, everyone will know it. Everyone will get your reference.
Netflix has Sandman coming and has that. And pretty much that's it. I think there's definitely a buzz about this show, and I can't wait. I'm hopping on a flight tomorrow. I'll be gone through Sunday.
I have no doubt it's going to be pretty awesome. Pretty spectacular, and it probably there'll be a lot of goodwill there because everybody will just be happy to be there again, right?
Yep.
So the jerketry, the assholery, bing, will probably be at a bare minimum, if at all, and you'll be able to probably get around. There'll be a lot of people trying to make up for their financial losses for the last 2 years, and there'll probably be a lot of deals around, or there'll be a lot of people willing to make deals or willing to be as inclusive as possible in panels and whatever, so that they can get the publicity of hot interest in things. So if you're shrewd and you could get around that place nimbly, then you probably would be able to have an enhanced experience, larger than usual kind of experience there.
I think so. Well, I will give you my full report.
No
we will
right?
talk about who won the weekend next week. That'll be that as well too. Real quick, we didn't discuss The Boys, I think, from last, so we're all around the road. We're just going to bounce around a little bit. There's also a story real quick. I'm gonna let you pick because we want to get to our guest, Dan Leister, and wrap this up in some sort of time. Do you want to talk about The Boys, or would you rather talk about we'll hold off on talking about Miss Marvel until you see the last episode, even though I spoiled it for you off air before we got in, because I just assumed you watched it. I of everything that was going to happen, I figured you.
I know, but like so many things happened, and also last week, what we do in the Shadows premiered, and that took precedence over most of my attention. So
yeah,
so I'll get to it. I'll get to it by next week. By
do you know what I'm watching on the plane?
San Diego, I will have seen it.
Do you know what I'm watching on the plane? Chloe's
watching?
Movie. I got it queued up.
I will have seen that too by the time you get back, so that we can have a discussion about that, a very brief discussion about it also.
So we can chat about The Boys and the finale of The Boys, because we've both seen it, or Love and Thunder director Taiko Watiti defends his comedic Thor. He has no regrets over what he did in the movie, and a lot of people were saying that it might have been a little off in terms of the tone, that it was super super funny, even though there was a lot of darkness and cancer, and definitely I watched shout out to Screen Rant's pitch meeting. He's still one of my favorite. I think that's one of my favorite YouTube things on the planet. Shout out to Victoria Bennett for aka Bevan for tuning me into that. He's like, got a great movie for you. There's gonna be tons of jokes. Great. Jane Foster has cancer. Oh, we should probably lighten up. Nope, gonna be tons of jokes. And that seems to be the thing. It has one of the lowest rated MCU scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
So you've decided to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder then?
Do you want to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder, or would you want to talk about The Boys?
I'd rather talk about The Boys, because I've already said everything I wanted to say about Thor: Love and Thunder.
Got it. All right.
And I've defended it.
See, I managed to sneak that in there. It was pretty good, though.
I know.
It
wasn't really sneaking, dude. I just sat here and watched you do it. So there was no sneaking.
So I got asked this. I got asked, The Boys, what do I think? I got asked by fellow Rogue Matter folks. And I got to tell you, I think this season was not my feel, again, as I have illustrated in previous podcasts, I rate things by what is my overall feeling when I leave the theater, when I turn it off. Am I still as into it as I was? I got to say that the 9/10 of The Boys was right on par. It got into a great groove to where I binged a few episodes in a row because I was behind on a couple episodes. It manages to do what a good streaming show does, which is, again, by the end of the episode, it makes you want to, click the next one on. And so it had all that. Herogasm, we talked about that. It was directed by a friend of mine. I had no idea. That was fantastic. I congratulate him. He did a great job on the Herogasm episode. Herogasm was a little disappointing, but the actual, contents of the show, not the episode, but the buildup of what Herogasm was, because I kept hearing Herogasm, this and that and this, and it's like, oh, okay, it's just a hero orgy. Like, I don't know. I thought there was something, where it would be even more. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, that has nothing to do with the show. Just that's more about expectations being built up. The only issue I had with it was that, allegorically speaking, they tried to cram too much into like a few characters. They had the allegory for Fox News. I thought that was pretty cool. They had, I thought it was interesting with Homelander being the, allegorical QAnon leader, Trump, MAGA kind of guy, which I thought was fine. I thought Mother's Milk's rival, the man who ended up marrying his, or is with his now ex-wife, I guess. Yeah, it has to be ex-wife at this point, or divorced or separated, whatever. Like they tried to use him as the man on the type of person that would get swept up into this conspiracy QAnon type, right-leaning MAGA type quality. And I just, but at the same time, he was also like the rival to Mother's Milk, but he's in which is not a typical kind of marriage. I just thought they tried to cram too many allegories into this one character. This is a minor, point to it. The only reason I bring it up is it's the very last scene to where, if you haven't seen it, Homelander essentially kills a protester. Well, not essentially. He kills a protester, and the QAnon types that are following him are all like, yeah, and who's there but Mother's Milk's rival? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I was at that point, I just felt it was like, all right, it was a little over the top. It was the last thing I saw. And I'm like, I felt like they just tried to cram too many allegories into one character at that point, for him to be the one. Like, I can't see him being the guy who, is like lock, stock, and barrel into this, like to the point where he's the one cheering. Like, he is literally the one being like, yeah, good job. And I'm like, wow, okay, they're really going on, they're really up. And again, I don't mind the sentiment of it. I just didn't like it all being into that one character. I feel like they crammed a lot of like things into that one character. And then that's my like minor, quibble with it. I didn't, and honestly, if it wasn't the last scene, I probably wouldn't even have brought it up, but it was literally the very last scene. I did enjoy Homelander's reaction to it. I do think the son being there is scary. I do also think, though, that what's his face, Butcher, like some of the choices with the son that he made during the show, I obviously don't agree with it, but it's one of those instances where you kind of watch like a horror movie and you're like, dude, don't you know what happens if you try to run for the car, or like if you don't run for the car, or if you, like if you're in a horror movie and then people are like trying to get out of the house kind of deal. And they just run right to where the killer is, or they do something like really stupid, like, they're always going to trip and fall or something like that. It was one of those things where, when Butcher was mean to the kid, I'm like, dude, the kid has superpowers. Like, why would you be mean to why would you push away the kid from you, who is now the father figure he doesn't have? And then why would you also at the end not allow Soldier Boy to remove both their powers? Like, that was the one thing I didn't understand at the end, where Butcher's like, not the kid. You got to get the kid out of here. No, remove his powers too. Like, they don't die from this stuff. They get their powers removed. Like, that's the whole point. Then the kid would be normal.
Well, I mean, he typically explodes when he does that and kills everyone in the vicinity. Like
except no one died.
Herogasm. Huh?
Oh, I guess, yeah. All right, you got Herogasm. No. Yeah, all right. I guess, yeah, he did end up.
And he did it a couple of times in the middle of the city, which is why he was a threat in the first place.
The only question I have at that then is how the hell did Maeve survive then?
Because I don't know.
That I thought was a little like she should have died.
She might have thrown him out the window and then landed, and then he blasted her, and then yeah, and then she lost her powers. I don't know.
Yeah, that was.
I'm just saying I'm not saying it would have worked, but I mean that was probably Butcher's concern for the kid.
Yeah.
That once his, if his power is taken away, and then there's small yield nuclear explosion that happens right after that, he'd be incinerated, like the Wonder Twin ripoffs.
Right. Oh, true. Very true. All right. So I'm glad you straightened that out for me. But even to me, I sat there saying, that was, obviously we wouldn't have a show, obviously if that happens. But the fact that Maeve survived, the fact that Kamiko survived, then it becomes, well, the kid would have survived, Butcher, because clearly they've got some plot armor on them.
Butcher's not to know he would have survived.
No, I know.
Because nobody knew that Maeve survived until
I was being facetious, obviously.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
What was your take on it?
I mean, I've told you my take on it. I think that, I like the show. I think it's a one note. I think it's one gimmick.
Do you actually like it though? I don't think you. I don't. I feel like you
I
always
didn't say I
express that
don't
you
like the show. I'm not enamored with it. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it's a stroke of genius, everything I see, because it's not really, in my opinion, that hard to constantly be subverting your expectations with hedonistic, violent subversion,
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, everything is kind of one note. Every vile possibility is taken to the maximum. And there are kind of they try to fit in subtle nuances to characters, like A-Train apologizing, but then moments later it's kind of he's back to his old tricks again or whatever. It's like characters learn, but they don't really learn, because it has a very 90s motif to it, where every episode, even though these are through line episodes, every episode kind of starts again, or every season, not so much an episode. Every season starts again from square one. It has a reset. So we can't really take away Homelander's powers, because there's no show without Homelander.
Yeah,
Without
I know.
of Homelander, we can't really do it. But it's like Gilligan's Island. Like, if we get off the island, the show ends. But we have to keep trying to get off the island. That's the premise of the show. So we have to keep trying to kill Homelander. And so, like, I think, all right, so they hung a lantern on it by Soldier Boy saying, "What are you doing, man? It's like everything you want is about to happen, and you're just not going to take it."
Yeah.
And it's a growth moment for Butcher, because he does have morals. He does have he does have. But again, it's kind of a out of the blue growth point for him, because he doesn't mind melting his own brain with temporary V, and he is pretty much hardcore. I don't care about the consequences, all the way up until the moment he's about to get what he wants, and then suddenly he cares about the consequences.
Right.
So that was, and I think in that show, and the show is pretty clever about like hiding its formula. I think that was the most obvious they were at following a formula, that season finale.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I mean, everybody, why wouldn't Homelander just kill Butcher right after that?
Right.
If Homelander is Butcher is definitely a threat to Homelander, and now Butcher has temporary V, so he can be comparable per how whatever Homelander thinks. Why wouldn't you just end that guy? Why would you walk out with your son at the end of it as though there's a détente or some kind of temporary understanding amongst them? Right. I mean, it's fine. It wasn't so egregious that we didn't get near. We're not even near Game of Thrones season 8 territory, and like, why did that happen? But I'm thinking the problem I have with the show, not the problem with the show. So let's just differentiate. The problem I'm having with the show is I can see the formula, and the formula gets old after a while if you're working on a formula. But as long as people love it, and as long as people keep calling it genius, and I'm not here to tell them that they're wrong, that it's not genius, it's genius as far as they're concerned, then it'll keep going, and it's fine. It's no problem.
It's doing so well. They actually have spinoffs. So I mean, you're going to get more.
I mean, their animated spinoff, their original animated spinoff this year didn't really make waves at all. Nobody even knew it existed. But they're going to do more, so we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I just wish it was. I just wish it branched out a little bit. I wish it added a little more to the mix than it's adding. But it is what it is.
I wish the comic book was actually more palatable, believe it or not. And I love Garth Ennis and I love Derek Robertson. The comic book is nowhere near as good as the show, though. Like in terms of just and don't get me wrong, I get it. The show has certain advantages, but I'm a comic book. I love comic books, so to me, like the Watchmen movie is a fine attempt at an adaptation, but nothing beats the graphic novel. So I'm not coming to you from a point of, well, there's no way the TV show could be better. Like I'm enjoying, and I'll give you a great example. I'm enjoying Umbrella Academy. I'm enjoying both equally. I'm enjoying Umbrella Academy, the graphic novel, in a completely different. What's that?
It's a really well the Umbrella Academy comic book was a really well done comic book.
Yeah,
innovative and groundbreaking in and of itself. And the TV show is doing its best, and I think succeeding to a large degree in being its own kind of thing.
Correct.
Being its own groundbreaking kind of thing.
Yeah.
The problem I've had with the Boys comic book is it's kind of anti-comic. It's kind of like
it's his problems with the industry altogether.
Yeah, it's got issues with the comic book genre in and of itself. It's got problems with the industry, and it's kind of a FU to the whole thing. And so now you're turning it into a show that's kind of an allegory that nobody really understands allegory, and the comic book was a satire of the industry.
Yeah.
And the TV show theoretically would be maybe a satire of the DC and the Marvel television universes, but it just keeps trying to morph itself into its own thing, and it can't really be more than a satire. It never achieves more than it's trying to achieve, and it keeps threatening to achieve more than it, but it doesn't really succeed, in my opinion, in my feelings. So, I don't know what to say about it. I don't think it should go away. I don't think they should fix it. I don't think they should, I know they could do whatever they wanting. That's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Should we defend Thor: Love and Thunder? No, I'm just kidding. What do you think about The Boys? What did you think about San Diego? We're gonna wrap that all up. Are you guys excited for it? That was all around the Rogue. When we come back, Mr. Daniel Leister, Metal Ice Cream, you're going to want to tune in. Amazing artwork, awesome stuff. And again, also free out there in Webtoons. So when we come back, Rogue Spotlight, Dan Leister. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. We were happy enough to have joined Dan Leister a couple nights ago talking about his new comic book, Metal Ice Cream. We get into a whole lot of stuff, but one thing we didn't get a chance to do when we do the interview, which we'll see, is show off some of his awesome artwork. So I want to display, Aaron, please roll. This is Metal Ice Cream. It is his ode to heavy metal. It's an awesome thing. He just basically, I don't know. He's like got this pulp like comic vibe in this particular book, and he's going to go into detail all about what were the origins behind it and what you can do. And there's some of the stuff right there. It's When Harry Met Sally in space with a heavy metal vibe. So this is all about Metal Ice Cream. So please enjoy our interview with Dan Leister. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Thrilled to welcome my brother in arms here, former Sire co-collaborator and Zenoscope veteran and DC and Image hack slash. I mean, you probably have a better resume than both of me and Hassan combined. Mr. Dan Leister, how you doing, sir?
Just barely. I'm fantastic. Great to see you guys. Great.
We've got this show though.
He's fantastic though. I mean, how many people have we met who are fantastic?
I know.
Not a lot.
No.
That's rare. Okay.
That's
so he's already got us beat.
We've had a good July, actually. We've had a good run.
I've been fantastic since I was 16. I'm going to just let you know that. But okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So, Dan, you have
a
brand new webcomic coming out.
Kind of. I don't know. I talked about this with you a long time ago. It actually came out 2 years ago or so. I started putting it online, so about an issue and a half is already online for people to check out. And then my third son was about to be born, and then COVID kind of hit, so I just couldn't keep up with the post, and I didn't want to like stress myself out with this thing that I'm doing on the side. So I just put it on
something like having a kid and a 100-year pandemic get in the way of you being productive. That's
I hear excuses.
I didn't. I just didn't post it. I kept going. I just didn't post it. So yeah.
Take that pandemic.
No, I kept going. I just couldn't say when each page would be done. I couldn't put it up every week. So I just told everybody at the different sites that I was posting it at. It's like, look, this is going on. It's going to be on hiatus. I'm still working on it. you can go to my Patreon and check it out. And right now you can go on right now, and it's got like every page up to where I am right now on the last issue. Behind the scenes stuff. It's got scripts, layouts,
I'm gonna ask
extras.
the $1 million question though. I'm gonna ask the $1 million question. What's it called?
Metal Ice Cream.
There we go.
Boom. Actually, this is actually fun. You guys know Invisible Kirkman, right?
Yeah.
And you know how each of his storylines are named after different 80s sitcoms, I think, or just all sitcoms.
Oh, really?
Like they're like Different Strokes and Family Matters, and
Okay.
just all
I'm
this.
going to say yes, even though I didn't know that. But yeah, I knew that.
But they are. So I kind of took that idea. I thought it was cool and was going to do like B movies or things like that. I did Lost in Space for this one. And then I was thinking about it, and you know what would be more fun? And then if I could name them
albums.
If I could name them after ice creams.
Okay.
So,
I picked one. I hedged my bet. It's either the metal or the ice cream.
Close.
I went metal.
It's close. It was close. This one's going to be Rocky Road. I'm almost done writing the second story arc, which is going to be Neapolitan, and then there's going to be like Tutti Frutti, and just I don't know. I really wanted to have fun with this series. That's the whole thing.
That's the name of the game with this for you too, though. Is like you put that, it's on your website, DanielLeister.com. Like you are literally just doing this because you love it, and I love that you love it.
I got these stories in my head that I've had for years and years, and they've just been boiling up. And I got Werewolf out, and that was finished. And I'm working on actually outlining 2 more stories for that. And then this, I'm not sure how long this is going to go for, but I got the first story arc, about 6 issues almost done. So it's going to be a wild ride. I'm going to put 1 page up a week on all the sites. So it should last about 1.5 years.
So Werewolf Run, which was another, it was a successful Kickstarter from a few years ago. And yeah, I'm curious. Yep. Hassan, what did you wanted to say something? I feel like, so I didn't want to cut you off, but
I just said nice, but I was going to quote Bob Dylan when he said he had a bunch of ideas, but then I decided that the moment had passed, and now you've called me out on it, and now I feel stupid. So
I felt stupid for passing on it. That's why. See, so
Bob Dylan's a song of Maggie's Farm. He said, "I've got a head full of ideas, and they're driving me insane." So that's
driving me insane.
I was going to do that, but Dolce was busy talking, so I missed my window on that.
Hey,
so
I was talking because I was trying to help promote his stuff. See, so
you just got to slide.
All for the good.
You got to slide it in there.
I know. I'm not good at that. I don't slide.
The
very bad.
Book you mentioned was Werewolf Run. Werewolf Run was a successful Kickstarter from a few years ago. Any thoughts of doing a Kickstarter for Metal Ice Cream?
Not right now. Right now, I mean, one of the reasons why I did Werewolf Run first, because it's werewolves. It's got a built-in audience to it and everything. So I knew that one would do at least well, because I knew I had a decent fan base to kind of play with, even if it wasn't mine. So this one's a little bit different. It's my own totally made up thing. I'm looking to get the fan base first and then see how we go after that.
Okay.
So we'll see.
So in order to get that fan base, tell
fanboys. I want the fanboys.
You want the fanboys and the fan base at the same time. If you can get the fanboys and the base,
we're good.
That's you're in comic book mecca. What is Metal Ice Cream about? Tell everyone.
It's basically my love letter to heavy metal. Like I saw the heavy metal movie back when I was a kid, and it just blew my mind and just showed. And then I eventually got into the magazine where these other artists from Europe and all over the world, and they show me just all these other stories that weren't, superhero oriented or just very bizarre. You can go any direction you want with it. And I was like, that is amazing. And it just inspired me. And this one is about our heroine's name is Jennifer Crush. I haven't got my lingo down yet. I'm still working on it.
We won't edit any of this, so
that's all right. Totally
take
fine.
As long as you need.
Basically, my heroine's name is Jennifer Crush. Her ship was attacked by space pirates, and she narrowly escaped. And the ship she escaped on got shot to hell, and it's just kind of floating through space now, slowly running out of power. And like when we see her in the first page, like her ship's about to shut down, and oxygen's going to go, and her hyper sleep chambers are all shut up, so she can't do anything, and she's just sitting there. And then all of a sudden she bumps into this giant ship floating through outer space, and she like jumps off hers and jumps onto this other one, and there's nobody on it, and she's wandering around, and it's just really weird. And then she wanders into this room filled with smoke and gets a contact high and falls over this just red thing on the floor, and it's red, this just little round alien. He's basically like, what's it, remember like the 7-Up red guy? There's a couple of different red guys. So it's just like this red ball with arms and legs. And I had this image in my head. It depends how far you want me to go down the rabbit hole. Just let me know.
Keep going, man. I gotta tell you.
Basically, like, and then they meet and everything, and he's totally enamored with her, and she's just like, hey, what's going on? And he just falls in love with her, basically, and all she wants is like a ride back to a civilized spaceport, and they start going that way, and things just don't quite get, or they eventually get there, but it takes a couple of weird twists and turns.
So it's an odd couple. I you know what? I gotta dust off my my pitch brain. My
you
pitch
gotta
brain
hit the
has-
elevator.
So wait, here I got one. Okay,
Yeah.
it's when Harry met Sally with a heavy metal vibe
Okay.
in space,
And a giant red blob.
it's
Not
not
giant.
a giant red blob. It's
No,
just
he's
this
a
little
dot.
red guy.
Gotta
Just
call
look
him
at the
a-
pictures.
Little
Look at the picture I sent.
little companions are the big thing now, man. You got to make
It's
them
true,
really cute,
actually. It's huge.
and you're in Baby Groot, Baby Yoda, and what is
Mhm.
Eagly? You're in that territory.
He's got a foul mouth though. He's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That makes it even more adorable.
I know. Here, I'll share this with you. This is weird. Hang on, I'll show you. Hang on.
We'll have to fill space for our listening audience. Our guest just got up out of his chair.
Yes, he bailed on us.
I mean, luckily this is a live stream too, so this is at this point where I should plug our live stream and say you should be watching it.
Yes,
It's an empty chair we're watching now.
because you never know what's going to happen, and this is
Look at all the toys
exciting.
he's got back there. Now the
So I
question is,
can't
Yeah,
are
totally
those
show
his
this
or
to
his
you,
kids?
but I can show you a little bit. So when I was a kid,
We were
I
just
saw
totally
this
making
comic
fun of you,
book.
by the way.
That's fine. Basically, my friend back in the 80s showed me this comic book, and it was just an underground weird comic book, and I was like, what the heck is this? It has this little red guy in the front and this topless chick walking through a foggy mist, and I don't remember anything about the
sounds
interior
like
of the
80s
comic.
to me.
that basically sums it up, right?
I didn't remember anything about the interior of the book, but that image stuck in my head for forever and ever. And I would, every time I'd go to cons, I'd go to the bins and stuff, and I'd ask people, do you ever see a book with, this? And of course, people would look at me like, no, what are you talking about?
Yes.
So
We're gonna call
eventually,
the cops. Please leave.
move along, sir.
Not the weirdest thing they've heard at a comic book convention.
That's true. That's
I
very
know,
true.
I know. I've heard a lot weirder too.
Yeah.
So eventually, I was like, you know what?
That just brought back memories. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But basically, I was eventually like, why don't I just draw it? I got it in my head, just draw it. So this is kind of like the G version of it, of like the little red man and Jennifer Crush walking through. But on my Patreon and stuff, I started talking about it, and I showed a picture of this, and I explained it. One of my patrons says, I know that book. And they sent me the book.
Get out of here.
Oh.
Boom.
Oh. What's it called?
It's
Zero?
naked. Yep, Zero. Naked woman, I can't show you, and a little red man. And there's like zombies and stuff. This was the book. It's like 1982. And it's like, this is the goddamn book I saw. So I have not seen this book since I was a kid. I was like, I don't know how that happened, but
That's
got
The
this
internet
one.
is a weird place, isn't it?
that's how I got the whole story.
The thing about it, if you couldn't draw, you'd be doomed to have that in your head for the rest of your life.
Well,
But
no one would understand.
No.
I would explain it. I would explain it to everybody. They're like, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what?
Call the police.
You know what movie is like one of those things for me where it's like, but luckily I know what it is. Was The Explorers, the one where they build the
The spaceship, yeah.
and they go up
Out of the spinning roller coaster thing.
Yeah. That's one of those
what
movies.
did you
where I
have in your
remember-
head?
What's that?
What was like the image you had in your head?
The
Like, what is
actual
that
spaceship
movie?
that they were able to, like, that was like the total wish fulfillment. Like, I think I was 7 years old when I saw it, 8 years old, and I'm like, they built a spaceship. I want to build a spaceship. I can build a spaceship. It was done. And I remember like, they went to the junkyard and they like just pulled things and everything just magically fit into place very nicely to make this orb. But like, yeah, that's my 0 right there.
Do you got one, Hassan? Do you have something like you've had in your head and
I've got a bunch
you found it like years later?
I've got bunches of them. Mostly movies. Like when you're young and you have like HBO when you're really young, you come across a ton of movies at 4 o'clock in the morning and you never know the title.
Like, what is this?
So, but I can't I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. There's been at least 8 of them that I've had to in my adulthood. I've had to actually look them up. Thankfully,
it's much easier now. Yeah, much easier now.
because and all you have is these obscure moments that you may or may not be remembering correctly.
I'll name one that fits what you're describing, and I'll tell you that I ended up finding it again, like years later in college, showing this to all my I was on a cross country team, so it was like a whole team building thing. I'm like, and we're trying to figure out movie night, and I came across it at a Blockbuster. It's called Amazon Women on the Moon.
On the Moon, nice.
It was it's
crazy as shit.
B movie spoof. It stars like Arsenio Hall and Leslie Nielsen. Like it's actually, I mean, it's actually like got a good cast.
Yeah,
and I loved it when I was like 11 years old, and I was like,
it's basically just them like changing channels and different channels.
Well, fast forward to me, it's 10 years later. I think I'm 21, and I'm hosting movie night for our team, and I'm like, and I was like, Amazon Women. Oh, this is gonna be great, guys! And I put it in there, I'm like, and everyone's like, this was horrible. Like it was just horrible, and it was one of those things where your reputation now goes downhill because it's like you recommended the movie, and everyone's like, this is just a terrible movie, and I'm like, yeah, this is. I don't know what happened. I was 11. I loved it.
I have a story about that happening in reverse, though, that I saw something that I didn't realize what it was until I saw it again. And I just realized it was an indelible memory. Was Fellowship of the Ring, the Balrog scene. And I remember the Bashi moment where Gandalf dies, quote unquote, dies in the cartoon when I was a kid. And I just remember that scene. And the only reason I remember it was in the Peter Jackson version when he pulls out the whip, and it just was just like it was like a lightning rod. I'm like, I know this moment. Like I had no memory of Lord of the Rings whatsoever until that moment. And I've seen this before, and then
that stuff is so weird.
Yeah, and because of course this is a brand new movie. I had nothing to do with Lord of the Rings. I didn't, but of course when I was a kid, your parents rushed you to every cartoon movie you could possibly see just to placate you, and I saw the Bashi Lord of the Rings, which I'm sure I don't know how I got through that without nightmares, having seen it again in my adulthood, but
what a better
kind of what you're talking about in reverse.
Like I know my kids can get everything on demand right now. Like and we have Netflix, we have Disney Plus, we have all the streaming channels and stuff like that. Mostly for me, but they, they get to use it too. And but I feel like there's a simplicity to there was only a limited amount. Like there was I knew like if I missed something,
you don't have a choice.
Like, oh my god, I need to check the TV guide. I need to check the cable guide.
Yeah.
When's it going to be on again? Because and there's a level of urgency that these
kids. It also meant a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it meant a little bit more.
Yeah,
meant a lot more, especially if or I remember just checking the program book because we had HBO before we had cable. So one of those like with the box that you have to switch over when I was really young. And so we had an HBO guide and you saw half a movie or whatever a movie and you had to check the guide to see if it was coming on again that month. And that's how there's no on demand. There's no waiting until midnight and watching it again. None of that.
I remember I was spending the night at my babysitter's or something like that, and she had HBO, and the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Commando was on, and I was recording that because I wanted to see it, and she had to keep the channel just right for it to come in right, and right in like an action scene, it went click, and I was like, no! And I was like sitting there, so in the tape, it goes click, 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 click.
I remember I was at it was like a great aunt's house or something. And this is maybe like circa 1988. And she's like, oh, does your parents let you watch R-rated movies? And I'm like, yes, they do. Yeah. I watched Police Academy 2 and saw some boobies. and it was great.
Beautiful.
It was
There wasn't any in
amazing.
2, was there?
It's like, oh, this isn't that
I
bad.
don't
It's Police Academy.
I don't think there was any in 2. I don't remember.
No, it was brief. It was on the beach at the very beginning.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like
yeah,
they
yeah.
drove past,
When
and there was like some girl she had to cover.
Mahoney's like doing some
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, the second one's a lot tamer than the first one.
Yeah.
The first
Dude,
one,
I know.
like,
I ended up
straight
going
up
back and
rated
finding
R
the first one, and I was blown away by it because I think my entry point was actually Police Academy 3, which I enjoyed as a kid. It was a cute
and
movie.
they turned it into a family franchise by
Oh,
then.
totally.
They really pivoted. They pivoted at that point.
Yeah.
The
Alright, so
first
Dan,
one's gorgeous, man. Gorgeous.
You and I go back to circa 2006. So we worked.
Is that when?
Well,
Okay.
actually, even a little earlier than that, to be honest with you, because I think I contacted you to work on the Sire in 2005, when Hassan and I were still at Wizard Magazine, and Wizard World was still the king of conventions.
Yeah.
And so Hassan and I have brought up many a memory of Wizard World Chicago, and this was a funny one for me. Not so funny for him, but very hilarious after we talk about it, was the fact that in 2007, after I had left Wizard and we launched the Sire, we started going to these conventions or whatever. And so
Right.
I remember flying out to Wizard World Chicago 2007 without a hotel room because I just assumed I would find somebody who worked at Wizard still that would let me crash on their floor. And so that year, I think you had a hotel room for that one though. I don't know why I didn't. What happened? Why didn't I just stay with you? I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know why.
I met up with Hassan and Hassan's like, yeah, I got my own room. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I need a room to stay.
And ironically, because we mentioned this last week,
yeah,
we mentioned a certain someone who we will not mention on the air now.
Uh-oh.
But because of that, it's that terrible experience that I told you I had.
Yes.
That's why I got a room for myself
To yourself.
that year. And then you messed it up.
But
You
apparently,
ruined
so
it
this is
for
the
me.
funny part. I remember rooming with Hassan, but he was like very explicit in the details. He's like, you showed up, you're like, hey, this is great. I'll take this bed. And he had no idea. I just basically took the room. I didn't even, I didn't even really give him an option. And then we're watching TV.
It's a classic movie thing too, because I'm watching something stupid, like something benign, like the History Channel, and he knocks on the door and he comes walking in, and he's got his stuff, and I'm like, "What's up, dude?" And
What's
he's
up?
like, "Hey, no, you got 2 beds. This is awesome." And then for 2 minutes he's in there. I'm like, "All right, I don't, this will work." And then he's like, "Are we watching this? Is this what you're watching? Can we watch something else?"
And that's what I said to him. I said to him, I don't really remember, but that sounds exactly like what I would say. Like to a T. I'm like, I definitely said that without a doubt.
It's kind of messed up too, because the guy's your friend, so it's like, yeah, it's no problem.
That should have been your first warning to kick him out of your room.
But it's also the first time you've had a hotel room to yourself in what is it, 5-6 years that we were doing that show. So I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be. No, it's not. No, here's Dolce. Nope. Dolce's here. It's not gonna be any of those things.
Trust me, it was not. Your story is not the worst. Mike Dolce is your roommate story from a Wizard point of view.
It's not even. It's not even the worst roommate story I've ever had. So I mean, it's not. It doesn't top either of our lists. But it's a good moment. It's a
Where
funny
were you
moment.
staying that year, Dan? I came now. I'm really.
Yeah. How come you didn't stay with Dan?
You were on Zetascope
when we were first starting out. We would stay at the Holiday. Is it the Holiday Inn?
Yeah, you were like
down around the block by the Denny's around the block, and the airplanes from
was that Chicago?
From the airport.
Yeah,
that was the Rosemont.
Yeah.
So wasn't there was one that was far away from the hotel? It wasn't the DoubleTree. The DoubleTree was right next to
DoubleTree's across the street.
Yeah, the DoubleTree's across the street, and there's the one in the
convention center.
In the convention,
that's the Hyatt. But there's another Hyatt down the road.
Yeah, there was another one. My first year there in 1999 or something like that. They had us there, and it was like a 20-minute walk to get there.
Yeah, it's like by the Denny's. You remember that one? It was like over. Yeah, it's like it was like a Holiday
under the bridge, under that
something
highway.
Yeah, it's just around the corner.
It was a tent community. You just show them put your tent.
It was cheap. It worked, man. I remember actually. I remember one time, we had a big group of guys like Ryan and a bunch of other people. Went back to the room and we saw Dave Chappelle's "Killing Them Softly" that night on the TV, and we just laughed our asses off. It was great.
Yeah.
That's
No,
how
those
long
were the
ago that
days.
was. So that's an old
Yeah.
one.
Those were the
Yeah,
days.
that
That's
long
one of
time
his
ago.
first, if not his first.
So this is
Yeah,
what
that
I'll
was his
say.
first
If you
real
want
long
to catch
stand-up.
us, if you want to catch us as the audience, catch us at a convention, the next convention we're all at, which will probably be next year. I'm going to San Diego, leaving on Thursday. I'll be down there for a few days. You'll be at C2E2
Yep.
next month. We'll
Yep.
Yeah, you have to come out to New York. You're not making it to New York this year, huh?
No, I'm doing Gem City in Dayton this weekend, which is like just Saturday, Sunday, and then
Okay.
C2E2. And I might do one or two small little cons around here, but I'm too busy with all this other stuff. And I kind of like taking a little bit of a break from the cons for just a little bit, because I was starting to get to the point where I was relying on them every month to pay the bills. And I was like, I'd rather do work. And then I kind of straighten that out. So
all right, so in
hopefully it all kind of
2023,
balanced out.
we'll have a Dan, Mike, and Hassan reunion somewhere cool. Somewhere
Definitely get a bar going somewhere. Absolutely.
We'll all get our own rooms, though.
That's it. All right, tell folks where they can find you and Metal Ice Cream, Dan.
Me at DanielLeister.com. Hopefully I got a different thing set up. I still have tweaks and bugs to work out of it. For the most part, it's all good. Metal Ice Cream, you can pretty much just Google it. It's on Webtoons, Tapas. I'm trying to get one on Comics Fury, I think is a new one. It has its own Instagram page where I put like little swipe, just panel for a page. DeviantArt, so you can pretty much Google it and find it wherever, I think.
Awesome.
And
we'll
start
some links as well.
Yeah, it restarts on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday.
All right. So tonight, beautiful. It's okay. We let the audience know this is pre-recorded, so it's okay.
That's true. That's true.
July 20th.
Not tonight, but when
tonight.
Tomorrow. Yes.
That's Dan Leister. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
We'll put a bow on tonight's episode.
Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. I want to thank our guest, Dan Leister, for joining. I'll always talk to Dan. Dan and I have been convention veterans for God knows how long. I mean, we were doing shows for a long time from 06 to, I think 2019 we did C2E2 together. So it's fun to always catch up with him, even if it's virtual. Next week, Hassan, we're going to, again, I think we said it earlier, but if your prediction on who's going to win the weekend this weekend in San Diego,
I'm not going, so I don't know. I guess Black Panther. I suppose.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else that could be right. Unless Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who's going to be there, does something or announces something spectacular. I can't imagine the moment.
Right, but I mean, there is the unforeseen addition.
Sure.
And I'm sure there's going to be surprises. You're going to win the weekend because you're going to come back with a boatload of photos for all of us to ogle.
And you're going to win the weekend, not me.
No,
I hate taking
because
photos.
We're going to give you respect and accolades for having successfully taken all those pictures.
I could do interviews when I'm out there, and you're really right. Except I plan on doing nothing except just walking around, doing a lot of walking around.
So status quo.
I'll bring my microphone. You never know. I might run into somebody that. There might just happen to be someone I would want to talk to while I'm out there. We'll see.
Right.
All right. We will see you guys next week.
Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.